Hello, friends, and welcome back to the You and Youth podcast. This is episode 2. My name is Connor Filkins, and I am your host. And today we are joined by the children's ministry staff of First Congregational Church of Hudson, Ohio. Thank you all for being here. It's wonderful to have you today. And today I thought we could talk about VBS. We are recording this just as spring is beginning to turn towards summer, and VBS is right around the corner for you guys. So before we get into that, I'd love if you could all introduce yourselves and tell us what your experience was like growing up, if you did, growing up in church. And we'll start with Callie Baylor all the way on the other end.
All right. So I'm Callie Baylor. I am one of the associate directors of children's ministries here. VBS, what I did as a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so I went to VBS one time, like one time, with my friend Marcia. And it was just a very classroom-like experience. We were in a room. I got a very cool commemorative record to play on my record player. And it was just a couple songs, and that was it. One day, one time. That's all I ever did. So
nice. And what was your experience overall growing up in church? Did you have like a church that you went to regularly as a kid? What was that like?
Yeah. So I went to St. Monica's church. We were Catholic growing up, and we could walk to the church from my house. So I went to school there too, which was fun. Just kindergarten, first grade, went to school there. And we, went to church every Sunday, and well, no, that's not true. But we did go to church a lot of Sundays.
We're going to be honest about that.
Yes.
You don't have to go to church every Sunday if you listen to this podcast.
I'm going to throw my mom under the bus here. She would tell us that church was closed in the summer because we just needed a little break. So it was definitely, though, my parents grew up Catholic. It was definitely a part of like our family identity, even when we weren't going as much. So, and then once we moved away and I switched to public school, I did do like PSR on Tuesday nights and stuff too. So we kind of grew up doing stuff.
Awesome. And how did you find yourself here at First Church Hudson? What was that experience like?
So we had moved away and then moved back, and we were looking for a preschool. And my oldest was turning 3, and we needed a preschool, and we kind of looked around at all of them and really loved the preschool here, and then said, well, why don't we check out the church? And that was, we never went anywhere else after we came here. So that was really how we found ourselves here, was via the Children's Center. So
Awesome. Thank you.
I love that you still walk to church.
Yes.
It's like a requirement for you.
Yes.
It's a really convenient thing.
It's pretty nice.
Awesome. Liz, tell us about your experience growing up.
Okay. My name is Liz Yeakley. I'm the director of children's ministries here at the church. I grew up here in Hudson. So I went to church here in Hudson, a smaller congregation. I left it, obviously, so I'm not going to say the name, but my entire extended family went. So my grandparents that lived in Streetsboro went to this church, my aunt and uncle, 2 different sets of aunt and uncles. So on Sunday mornings, our family took up about a third of the congregation, which was super fun. We just kind of, the cousins and everyone, but we did Sunday school before church service. So the kids would get dropped off like an hour before. So we would sit in a classroom, and then we would go to church with our families and then eat some terrible cookies and then play with our cousins out in the fields around the church. So I ended up leaving that church. I was married in that church. My sister was married in that church. And I was just not feeling like it was a good fit anymore. And then when I had my kiddo, it was time, I was thinking about baptism, and I just didn't feel like I wanted my child to have the same experience that I did. I knew that there were some great churches in this community. So my husband, Justin, grew up here at First Congregational. So that's how we kind of found ourselves here. And I immediately felt embraced, and I was like, oh yeah, these are definitely my people. So
Awesome.
That's how I ended up here.
Awesome. Did you have like a specific VBS experience growing up in that church?
Sure did. So our VBS started at like 9:00 in the morning, and we would get dropped off. We would eat breakfast at home, and then they had tents set up, like camping tents outside, and each tent was a different station. And this was in the middle of summer. So if it was raining, they thought you were protected, but it was hot in those tents. So I remember the one time they had incense burning in one of the tents, and I got really sick to my stomach. But then it ended around like 11:30, so you were starving. So I just remember being very hungry at my VBS. But I don't have any like memories of the lessons or anything like that. It was very sit here and listen. It wasn't interactive at all. So, but I definitely did VBS every year. And because my whole extended family was there, I had my cousins, we all did it together. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Awesome. Amy, do you want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about your experience?
Sure. My name's Amy Araps. I am the other Associate Director of Children's Ministries here. And I feel like I have a unique experience. This was my church growing up.
Okay.
So I've been here. We moved here in 1992, and I have gone all the way up through children's and youth and becoming a member here. So I did go to VBS here. I remember having the best time. I think it's very similar to what we do here. I remember the songs and the games and all of the friends that I had. The church looked a lot different than it does right now. But I remember the pews in the sanctuary and where we'd start out, and just the songs. I've always loved. I still can sing some of them, and I remember them. And I'm hoping to do the same for our kids because it's fun. It's the best part of it.
For sure. So that is kind of a good segue into VBS 2024 here at First Church. What can we expect from the program this year?
Holy Moses.
Well done.
That's an incredible soundbite. It's getting clipped.
So we have our VBS, they're on like a rotation. So this year's VBS is Holy Moses. It's all things Moses. We have a surprise element that we just purchased and brought into the church this year. Is this the spoiler? Is this when we tell everyone?
It's going to be amazing. I mean, it's going to blow up the kids' excitement.
They're going to be bouncing with joy.
I agree. They'll go over any obstacle.
Oh,
to get
there we
here.
go. Yeah. No, it's going to be amazing. We have a ton of great crafts and games and all sorts of things for the kiddos. Our children's ministry board all dive in and put on this huge event. It takes a ton of people. So our music department here at the church steps up and they spend the week with us, and they lead all of our kids in the sanctuary with songs and all sorts of fun things like that. Connor, you could come down and you take a group of kiddos that will be rising up into youth, and you shepherd them, and it just really is it's a big group of people that come together to make a really big thing happen. And the kids come back. They want to come back. I think last year our biggest compliment was, I don't want to go to baseball. I want to go to VBS.
Yeah, that's a big day.
And so that's when you're doing something right. So the model that we've been doing is working, and it's fun. I don't know when we switched it to evenings, but I feel like that was a really smart, thoughtful move. So our kiddos get to eat dinner here. And of course, it's all their favorite things. So myself, when I was starving at VBS, the children of this church do not starve at VBS. They are very well fed.
We feed the children.
We feed the children. But yeah, it's just going to be a great time. Lots of fun. And then we don't do that whole like classroom-like experience. We're moving all around the church. We fill all the rooms out. We also do lots of stuff outside. And there's lots of transitions happening. So no one's stuck in one space.
Sure.
Which is great for the kiddos. They like to be active and move around. And then, of course, our youth, which is probably the biggest part of VBS, the unspoken missing key that no one really thinks about. Our youth lead our children during this event. And these are the same youth that went to VBS. So they remember looking up to that leader, that student leader, and idolizing them and being like, oh my gosh, when I get older, I want to be a leader of VBS. So they really are the fun factor. So they get down on the kids' level, they help them, they sing with them, they have fun, they're goofy. And that really is what makes VBS so special. And the volunteers come. We don't have to hunt for them. The youth can't wait to be a part of it. So that's really special. So
That's awesome.
it's a cool thing.
That's awesome. So can one of you describe what does so VBS runs for 4 days, right? We're
Yep.
going from June 3rd to June 6th this year.
Yep.
Yes.
What does a typical day at VBS look like? What can these different age groups expect, and what are some of the things that you guys have in store for them?
We're broken down by their grades. So
Okay.
each child would be the other kids their age, and we do rotations. So the little kids will do something a little bit different than the bigger kids. But some days everybody gets to do slime together.
Yes, that's a
Everybody
great one.
gets
Slime.
to make graham cracker treats with each other with blue frosting and maybe some Swedish fish.
Oh,
But each lesson is focused around Moses and his life. So when he was little and when he was found in the bulrush, all the way up to parting the Red Sea. And each lesson has a craft or a story or a food item to eat. And by the end of VBS, hopefully our kids can tell us who Moses was and what he did throughout his life. And we do it through music and food and fun.
Awesome. I will say that last year's VBS, you guys did, you were focusing on Paul, right?
Yes.
And that does stick with them when they get up to my programming in youth ministries. I'll be like, okay, so do we know who Paul is? This is the person who wrote this scripture that we're reading today. And they'll be like, oh yeah, we know who Paul is. Let me tell you who Paul is. So definitely sticks for sure. So you all have kids that are going to be either or have been at one point are going to be this year in that program. What are some of the things that you hope that these elementary school kids will take away from the experience? And maybe what do you hope that VBS will accomplish for them?
Ooh, big question.
So this might be our third time through Holy Moses because I have a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a recently turned 10-year-old.
Nice.
And so we are on about a 5-year rotation, I think. So I think this is our third time through Holy Moses. It's pretty cool. They love to come back and, I remember when we built these boats and we floated Moses down the river. Or they got a little tiny plastic baby doll at one point, and man, that baby just turned up everywhere in our car and our house for years. Oh, the brick baby. So they like that. And I forgot where I was going with all that. But so the idea of them kind of remembering that and then coming back and sharing it with the other kids, they just feel like they're a part of it. And it's that, we talk about them being a part of our community here and building those relationships. They come because their friends are here and they have fun. And more than anything, you just want them to feel like they're a part of things here. Yeah. And they pick up those lessons along the way because they're having fun and making slime and all that. So,
and I think it's great for the kids to see kind of their path. When they start so young there at VBS, they see the older VBS kiddos that are there, and then they see the youth that are with all the groups shepherding them. So they can kind of see their path, that this isn't something that they're going to do in their in first grade or second grade. It's something that they can do all the way through high school. And that's really profound. So they know that these songs are going to come back. They know that they can evolve with, the programming and stuff like that. And that's really cool. But like I said, those youth leaders in this church really do make VBS fun. They're that secret.
Yeah.
And they do a lot. Right. They do a lot of work.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
They aren't, they are watching those kids. Yeah. They're helping them, be where they need to be, pay attention.
Bathroom breaks.
Yes.
I need a Band-Aid.
Finish up at dinner because we've got another place to go.
They earn that Starbucks.
They sure do.
They do.
For sure.
They do.
For sure.
But, they don't complain though. Like they show up ready to work, and that's, it's wonderful. And the youth take the best pictures of the children.
They know
at
how
VBS.
to work
They can take a picture for sure. We used to have
0.5 selfies.
Exactly. We used to have that was like a position for someone on the board, was your job is to go around and take pictures of the kids. And then one year they were like, can you send us pictures, youth, that you take of the kids? And then we realized we weren't we weren't needed anymore. So they're also the photographers of VBS.
Yeah, for sure. Awesome. Amy, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I think I have the youngest of the group, and I think it's just starting to see that the Bible can be fun. There's things to learn in the Bible that we can take throughout our whole lives that we can start learning now. It doesn't matter how old you are. And I think I'm excited to see their faces and learn through their eyes and see what they see. So I'm very excited.
Great. So, First Church has had some pretty well-engaged VBS programs in the last few years. Why do you think that's the case? Why do you think so many people turn out for this program?
I think it's designed for the whole family. So we're saying, hey, parents, can you give us your kids 4 evenings in a row? We're going to feed them. They're going to have a ton of fun. And then they're going to be exhausted. You go, you enjoy a night out. So the parents are like, okay, that sounds great. And they also have the option to volunteer, which is lovely too. So everyone kind of takes a turn, but parents get a night out. The kids just have so much fun. And there's this energy that starts building with VBS. On Monday night, we're learning the songs. Tuesday night, we know the songs. Thursday night, by Thursday, the sanctuary is vibrating with music and screaming and dancing. And, the groups have now become to be little communities. And then those little communities are part of the bigger community. And then we're all come together. And it is such a profound, powerful thing where the kids are going, oh my gosh, I want to do this again. When can I do this again? So we try to get out those dates for the following year pretty early so that parents and families can plan their summer vacations and things around it. We always try to move VBS towards the beginning of summer before the chaos kind of ensues, which I think is a smart move. And then also before our youth volunteers start their summer jobs or they kind of go off and do their sports camps and stuff because we can absolutely not run VBS without the youth. So we want to make sure that it's also a good time for them. So all those little things that come and we feed the kids.
Yeah.
So, but all those things
if you feed them, they will come.
That's right.
True.
So all those things kind of coming together just makes for a great experience for our children.
And I think more comes out of it too. Like you can maybe get a babysitter, like a summer job.
Yes, you
for
start
some of
to
these
meet.
youth.
Yeah, you definitely build that network.
Yes, because you feel like you can trust them because they also go to your church and you'll see them around and you see them in Hudson.
Yeah, if one of our youth has spent a week with your child and there's a really good relationship there, that's so huge, I would imagine.
Yes, definitely.
And I think it's nice to have this week-long experience for the kids who can't come to other stuff. We have a Wednesday program and sometimes it's too close to the end of the school day or they have sports or same thing with Sunday mornings. Families are so busy and for some families, this is the way that their kid connects to church, to their church friends, to getting a little bit deeper than just one Sunday morning lesson. So I think it's nice for those families. Some families, this is their biggest connection and that's awesome.
Yeah, awesome. So we've talked a lot throughout this conversation about the youth volunteers, so like 6th grade and up, that come back and spend their time during the week with those kids. Why do you think it is that they love coming back so much?
Oh my gosh, it's like they get to take a step back into their childhood because we have
the funnest parts of it.
Yeah, oh yeah. And they know that they can be goofy and they can be, over the top when, you're a little bit younger and kind of maybe a little bit more like, what is going on? When's my mom coming? They're like, oh, this is awesome. They remember the songs and they have fun. And I just think it's such a great experience for them. And, the building of relationships, all that stuff, everything that we've said is just great. And then at the end, for those rising 6th graders, they get to stay and then experience their first little taste of youth, so they kind of age up into your program at that time. So it's really cool way to be like, all right, you're no longer, a child of this church. You are now a youth of this church. So it's such a nice, easy transition into the youth program. And everything about it is great.
Yeah. I think they really start to feel like the shepherd of their group. They get to know their names, the piggyback rides, getting to know those kids. I think that really makes them feel as needed as they are. As important as they are to that whole thing. And I think, it's a way. We're not just asking them to work for us, that they are doing an important job for us, but I think they get so much out of it too.
Yeah.
And just they get to see it just from a different perspective. I don't know. And they aren't always willing to sing songs or be silly, but something happens there, and they are willing to just, go where the Spirit moves them,
right?
No matter how silly that is.
Sure.
But I think, Connor, you do a good job too of really, to bring it back to youth, is just making those kids feel like, welcoming them to the youth family, and even if it's, the day you walk in with the Starbucks for those kids, man, whoo, they are VIP.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, and that's such a huge thing that I think is preached in youth ministry. Callie, you probably know this about Fuller Youth Institute preaches these big tenets of belonging, purpose, and identity. Yeah. And I think from what I've witnessed in the way that our youth engage in VBS, beyond their elementary school years, it really ticks all three of those big things. They get this sense of identity from it, being a leader, having that purpose of you're leading these kids and being a role model for them throughout that week, but also that belonging too. You get to be silly. You get to have a little bit of fun with it, or a lot of fun with it. One of the joys for me of watching it is seeing all of our youth kind of live into that silliness. I know your oldest daughter I wouldn't call her the most serious person I've ever met, but she tends towards that way. But then when our music comes on and she's like dancing around on the stage like a crazy person, it's so fun to watch. Just that joy that her and so many others kind of experience that week. It's really, really cool.
They just feel safe here to feel their feelings. It's awesome.
Yeah, that's great.
It is. It really is. So do you guys have anything that you want to add to what we've talked about so far about VBS? Is there anything you feel we haven't talked about, or anything that we're missing out?
I think the only other thing that for me, for VBS, I know we talk about our church and our community. It really is open to the community. And because we have a children's center here that lives in the church, we get a bunch of those kiddos who this might not be their church, but they come to VBS, and sometimes they find it to be their church, or they just know it's another great experience that they can have in their community, which is great. We're not, invite your friends, bring, your cousins that are visiting from out of town. We really want anyone and everybody to come and participate. So it's not just for our church. It's more of a community VBS. All are welcome. I think that's kind of our motto here. And come as you are, as a loved child of God. So it's pretty cool.
Love that.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thank you, all three of you, for joining us today on the podcast. I appreciate all of your input and your time today. It's been wonderful to have you. And thank you to our listeners for checking in on this next episode, this episode 2 of the You and Youth podcast, a podcast for parents who are seeking to raise their children in a complex world with a faith that can keep up. We'll see you next time, friends.